Hello and welcome to the Other Team's Tunes Tuesday, a weekly series that discusses music and matters with queer artists you love. I'm your host, Maud Mosley. My pronouns are they, them, and joining me this week is Philadelphia-based band Ther. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name's Heather. I use they, them, or she, her. Yeah, I do all of the writing and arranging and production for the band.
Awesome. Well, I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm really excited to connect because on February 18th, you released your debut album, Trembling. And Trembling, reckons with the feelings of watching a world in crisis, the, specific systemic issues to the accompanying sense of helplessness. As this album was produced during an ongoing pandemic, how did reckoning through the music help you sit with and move through difficult times?
I guess it did provide an outlet for a lot of like rage and sadness and frustration that I guess otherwise like couldn't really have any outlet because it was, most of the recording happened in the early stages of the pandemic, like pre-vaccine, where we didn't have a lot of information and we were just like staying inside mostly all the time. And so I guess we didn't really have a lot of outlets for much at all. So I did have this for that reason. And it was also something to occupy my time, which I also needed.
Fair. And do you feel like since its release, it's provided a sense of connection with, community and others?
I like to think so. I mean, it's hard to know what other, can't read people's minds, but the people that I have talked to about it, like extensively about, or who've talked to me about it, rather, seem to get it. And I think I feel it's like, when making an album, I feel like I usually get really lost in the sauce and kind of forget what I was trying to say in the first place. Whether it's like recording my own music or like working with somebody else, like kind of losing the original like thread of what it's about happens a lot. But I was kind of surprised where kind of talking back with people kind of realizing like, oh yeah, I totally did that on purpose, like back in like May of 2020 and I completely forgot about it. And like, this is just funny, like working on it for so long and so many things about the record becoming invisible that because a bunch of people are listening to it for the first or second or third time, everything is very visible and like new and fresh. So it's been nice to see and hear that like talk back and kind of getting that feedback and seeing all of these seeds that I planted like a long time ago and felt like I neglected are kind of like bearing fruit now. It's nice. It's a nice feeling.
Yeah, definitely. That's really lovely. And I feel like I've been hearing you talk on social media, in reference to the album. It's kind of taken off ahead of a lot of your other releases. And do you feel like it's that, connection to these themes of crisis that we've all kind of collectively been going through and watching in our own ways that's maybe like luring people into this particular album?
I feel like, yeah, I also feel like my music making process used to be like pretty selfish and self-oriented and self-centered and about processing things that are happening to me, and just like the product just happens to be songs, but a lot of stuff in the past has been very specific to me and like really just me, but I think that like with this album, I think I really thought not just about like the themes of the songwriting, because some of the songs are really old, some of the songs are like 7 years old, but in the process of like producing it and recording it, I thought a lot about like, what am I trying to communicate and how do I make it as obvious as I possibly can? And that was kind of a new approach that I took. And I do feel like that directly paid off, being focused on like thinking about more in the very beginning, like just the part writing and like early demoing stages of like, how is this going to be perceived? And like, how does that align with my intentions? And so I think that like with that, and especially with like, I feel like a larger group of people have become like radicalized against like capitalism and the police state in the last like 2 years, that I feel like a lot of things that I have been writing about that have felt a little more niche and used to be really alienating topics are now not as alienating, which is great news. Like that's great. I love that. And so I feel like like a lot of like political change has shifted that I think like has aligned with a perspective I've been writing from for a while. And so I feel like a lot of things like stick and read a little more clearly than they used to.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a really powerful shift. And I feel like takes us into the fact that, since the release of Trembling, you have already announced that, your sophomore album is in progress.
Yes.
Talking about like this big shift in your music and then already moving forward with kind of what's next. What led you or pushed you to already dive into LP2 and kind of keep moving forward with that?
Well, well, I think it's like, so like my full-time job is I run a recording studio and recording and mastering studio in Philly. And so a lot of my like energy and time and like specifically musical energy gets dominated by a lot of client work. And so in the past, it's been really, really hard for me to set aside time for my own work. And like it always has been, because it's like always emotionally difficult to like focus on like your thing, but also like because it doesn't make me any money. It actually like costs me money as far as like labor hours go. Like if I'm working for like 2 weeks on my album every day, that's like half a month's pay that like I'm just like giving up. So it's been hard to find those times. But I think that like with Trembling happening, and then like, well, actually, the other thing is that before I even started recording Trembling, I had 3 albums written already, just because I've been so bad at setting aside time to work on my own stuff. There's been this buildup of material. And so when I was working on Trembling, I was like, cool, this is the first one. I have 2 more to go that are written already. So it was kind of always the plan, but then it just kind of happened that, around the time Trembling came, like 2 months before Trembling came out, I'd already started recording LP2 because that was the time that we found to do stuff. And now like my work schedule has left me able to be a bit more flexible with my time in a way that I couldn't be before. And especially with the new record is totally different. It's like acoustic guitar and like much smaller arrangements and like way less percussion and all that stuff. And it's because it's not in the middle of like pre-vaccine COVID, I can work with my bandmates. And that has been really exciting to be like, oh, I can bring in my bandmates who I love and trust so much to like work with my stuff and like elevate it. And I think so that's made me really excited. And I think all of these things really culminated into this like feeling this itch to like get started on the next record, like as soon as I possibly could. And that just happened to be, around the time the first one dropped. So.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Can you share anything else about, maybe the themes or styles that you're hoping to bring up through LP2?
Yeah, I think the LP2 is a little more insular. It's a lot of songs that I wrote when I was in the process of basically like I kind of suffered a lot of like interpersonal losses and like had like a kind of like manic breakdown around the same time, like a few years ago. And it took a long time to like kind of like put in the work to like rectify stuff and like put my life back together. And I think I wrote a lot of, and I don't think it's not about that, but I wrote a lot of those songs during that time when I was struggling with very specific things. I was like reconsidering like what it meant to be friends with someone, and like what it means to be attached, and a lot of things like that. So there's a lot more like interpersonal, very like individual level stuff. It's not as like sweeping or grandiose, I don't think. And it's like, and it's mostly like acoustic instruments. It's much like folkier. Like, I feel like for people who like know the split that I did with Saturn, it's like more like that kind of palette than Trembling. So that's been really exciting to kind of like dig into, and also kind of nerve-wracking to dig into the sophomore album, kind of feeling like I need to beat the first one while also doing something completely different, which is like kind of liberating and also scary. But yeah, that's all I can really say about that. We're still a lot more work to do, so it's still being shaped, and I still don't totally know what it is yet.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing what you could. And, regardless, it sounds like there is definitely a lot to look forward to. And I feel like that's always such a difficult balance for artists, always feeling like you have to live up to certain expectations of music you've previously released, while also still creating what you want to create and moving forward in a direction that you want to move forward in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I know you briefly just mentioned it, but I really wanted to talk about this aspect of your work as well, because alongside the band's music, as you mentioned, you also work as an audio engineer in your studio, So Big Auditory. So how does, working with other artists inspire and influence you?
Oh, it's like nothing but inspiration and influence. There is so much to be gained just from being able to have my fingers like deep inside like so many different people's music, and just like understanding, like getting such a close look and starting to understand after like kind of poking around inside and like seeing how it works, like developing like so much more insight about what makes the music tick and what makes it good, and what like where the backbone is, and what people are trying to say with their music and how they're going about that. It's like, I guess when I'm not like very like self-centeredly like trying to just make sure I'm doing a good job and that I'm earning my wages, I feel like when I'm not doing that in my better moments, I'm more like focused on the music and like what makes it work. And I feel like it's gotten me exposed to so many different like processes and like sounds and ideas and approaches that like I never would have done by myself ever. And I don't think I'm like stealing anything from the artists that I work with, but it definitely like broadens my horizons, and kind of like grows the realm of possibilities. And that is always really exciting, and has made it harder to fall into like habits, at least when it comes to like putting a record. I feel like I still have my habit to a fault. I still have habits when it comes to like sitting down at a guitar and like writing a song. Like I have a thing that I do, but when it comes to like putting a song together in the studio, like I feel like I've just been pulled in so many different directions by so many different artists that there is no like default way to do it. It's just, you can do whatever you want. And I feel very like liberated by having all of these like past experiences that like pull me away from doing what feels comfortable. And I feel like that's a huge benefit.
Yeah, that is all really cool. I love just how much you're able to learn and kind of expand like your music and what you can use and your styling like through that. Do you also feel like it's helped you kind of like build community with other musicians and, navigate that kind of world as well?
Definitely. I feel like it's been like I had a brief stint of like booking shows in Philly, and like at the same time I had like just started the studio, and I feel like the two really like kind of went hand in hand, and like through those two happening at the same time I just like met a lot of people really really fast, who like I wouldn't have met otherwise. And I feel like just this kind of like cooperative quality of like, instead of trying to think about it as like, I've got to snag this client for this gig or whatever, it's been more about like, it's more like, I would love to work on that person's music one day. So like, I would love to get to know this person and like develop a relationship with them. And like hope to be brought on sometime. And like, it doesn't always work. Like I get passed over for other engineers all the time. But like, I think it definitely like, through working with people really closely, that strengthens relationships, and through wanting to be available to other people, I think it really forces me to, and also make money if I'm being honest. I think it encourages me and incentivizes me to constantly like trying to like push the limits of my community, like think like, oh, that's a person who I kind of know, but like I could be friendlier to, and like maybe I should talk to them more. Or like this person like hit me up about something a while ago and I forgot to message them back. Maybe I should like follow up with them in person, like things like that, that I think have like all in their own small ways led to a a larger community for me than I like ever thought I would have. And that's really cool.
I love that so much. And I just love the, overall concept and practice of, forming those deeper bonds with the people that we work with and the people that we want to work with. And I feel like that's so, particularly important in any kind of like arts practice. Because it really lets us, embrace each other's ideas more and get into that, creative process more. So that's so exciting to hear. And I encourage you, if you would like to learn more about So Big Auditory, I've linked it down below, as well as all of the music that we have been talking about, as well as social media. So you can follow up on news about LP2. Thank you so much for joining me this week on Tunes Tuesday. It was such a pleasure to talk to you, and Ther will be playing us out.
There is a black spot inside of my eye from all